Tonight, we begin with a development that federal investigators had quietly feared, prosecutors had prepared for, and the intelligence community had hoped would never arrive. This was not the result of a slow, routine investigation stretching over months. This unfolded in a single, carefully coordinated operation. In just a matter of hours, authorities uncovered what the Justice Department had long suspected: documents that should never, under any circumstances, have been outside secure government control. Documents found at Donald Trump's private estate. And once that line was crossed, federal authorities did not hesitate. Their response was precise, legal, and driven entirely by evidence. For more than a year, subtle warning signs had been building. Not press conferences, not official announcements, just quiet signals that Trump still possessed materials the government had been trying to recover. Trump's defiance has always been deliberate, calculated. His legal team moved in predictable patterns until suddenly they didn't. What alarmed officials this time was the silence. Those who track classified material know the indicators. Boxes being moved, storage locations changing, new personnel gaining access, communication abruptly stopping. All of that happened here, almost at once. And when legal defenses go quiet while physical evidence starts moving, investigators know something significant is coming. The National Archives had spent months negotiating patiently. Deadlines were extended. Cooperation was encouraged. But in law, patience has limits. And those limits were reached. Earlier this week, federal investigators launched what officials described as a coordinated document recovery operation. Surveillance, witness interviews, activity at a level not seen since the original Mar-a-Lago search. These operations are only authorized when authorities believe classified material is being improperly stored, moved, or placed at risk. And this was not a case of misplaced paperwork. According to sources briefed on the matter, investigators recovered documents bearing some of the highest classification markings in the U.S. Government material that legally should exist only inside highly secure facilities. Information involving foreign governments. Intelligence assets. Operational details that remain sensitive today. The immediate question in Washington wasn't just why Trump had them. It was who else might have seen them. The government's reaction afterward was anything but routine. This was not symbolic. It was urgent. Officials internally described Trump's continued possession of the documents as reckless and potentially damaging to national security. Trump did not cooperate. Instead, his legal team responded aggressively, filing emergency motions citing executive privilege, attorney-client privilege, and presidential immunity. These are not standard arguments. They're used when a case is expected to go as far as the Supreme Court. At the same time, the intelligence community initiated a formal damage assessment, a process used only when officials believe classified information may have been exposed. They're now asking what was accessed, by whom, and whether foreign intelligence services could have been compromised. That process is not triggered over clerical mistakes. Investigators recovered multiple TSSCI documents, some found in unsecured areas, not safes or restricted rooms, areas accessible to staff, attorneys, and visitors. Agents didn't just collect papers. They documented the locations, interviewed witnesses, and examined areas previously certified as containing no classified material. At that point, this stopped being just about documents. It became a credibility issue. Earlier sworn statements suggesting all materials had been returned now appear, at best, incomplete, at worst, misleading. Legal experts say this is where the case shifts. This appears to be a test, an attempt to see whether a former president could simply refuse to comply with the law. Instead, investigators escalated. The evidence gathering was deliberate, methodical, and structured to withstand any appeal. As more details emerged, the scale became clearer. Highly sensitive materials, restricted intelligence designations, handwritten notes suggesting personal review. This does not resemble carelessness. It resembles willful retention. Trump believed the Presidential Records Act gave him ownership. That declassification could be informal. That prosecution would be politically impossible. Those assumptions are now collapsing, and the pressure is coming from every direction: legal, political, and public. Trump is fighting back publicly, framing the case as persecution. But investigators are examining whether documents were moved across multiple properties and whether digital transmission occurred. When evidence moves, obstruction becomes part of the case. The question now isn't whether this investigation continues, it's whether the American system holds. Is anyone above the law? Or does the law apply equally, even to a former president? The answer to that question won't just shape this case. It will define the limits of presidential power going forward. And this story is far from over.